A Bunch of Grapes by Takeo Arishima. Chapter 1. When I was a child, I loved to draw. The school I went to was in a part of Yokohama called Yamanote, a neighborhood where mostly Westerners lived, and almost all my teachers were Westerners too. On my way to and from school, I would walk along a seaside street lined with hotels and Western businesses. Standing by the shore there, I could see rows of warships and merchant ships anchored in the deep, clear blue sea. Some had smoke drifting from their funnels, and others were decorated with colorful international flags hanging from mast to mast. The sight was so dazzlingly beautiful, it almost made my eyes ache. Often, I would stand quietly by the water, watching that view. When I got home, I would try to paint what I remembered as best as I could. But no matter how hard I tried, I never managed to capture the sea's translucent indigo or the bright crimson painted near the waterline of the white sailing ships. The paints I had just couldn't hold those colors. No matter how many times I tried, my paintings never came close to what I had really seen. One day, I remembered the paints my school friend Jim had. Jim was also Western, a couple of years older and taller than me. A boy I had to raise my eyes to look at. He had a wooden box with fine imported paints, neatly arranged inside. There were 12 colors, each a little block like an ink stick, lined up in 2 tidy rows. All the colors were beautiful, but the indigo and crimson were especially stunning. Even though Jim was taller and older, his drawing skill was much worse than mine. But when he used those paints, even his clumsy pictures somehow looked wonderfully alive. I envied him so much. I thought, if only I had those paints, I could finally paint the sea just like it really looked. I felt frustrated with my own poor paints, and these thoughts filled my heart day and night. From then on, I longed for Jim's paint with a yearning that was almost painful. But I was too shy to ask my father or mother to buy them for me. So day after day, I could only hold those paints in my heart, quietly as time went by. I don't remember exactly when it happened. Probably in autumn, since the grapes were ripe. The day was a clear autumn day, bright and cold like those just before winter, with a sky so clear it seemed you could see all the way to the heavens. We ate our boxed lunches together with our teacher. Even though the meal was pleasant, my heart was restless and heavy, so unlike the bright sky outside. I was lost in thought, and I think I must have looked pale enough that anyone paying attention would have noticed. I wanted Jim's paint so badly, it almost hurt inside me. I thought maybe Jim could see what I was feeling deep inside. Quietly, I looked at his face. Jim didn't seem to notice, smiling as if amused, chatting with the other students. But sometimes his smile felt like it was meant just for me, and it seemed as if their conversation said, "Just wait, that Japanese boy is surely going to steal my paint." A strange feeling of unease crept over me. Yet, the more I felt that Jim suspected me, the more I wanted those paints, as if that suspicion only made my longing burn brighter. Chapter 2. I may have had a pretty face, but my body was weak, and so was my heart. On top of that, I was a coward, someone who swallowed his feelings without ever speaking up. Because of this, I was rarely loved by others, and I had few friends. After lunch that day, while the other children rushed outside to play energetically, I alone felt a strange heaviness in my chest. Instead of joining them, I slipped back into the quiet classroom, feeling even darker inside than the dim room around me. Though I sat at my desk, my eyes kept darting toward Jim's. His desk lid was carved with little doodles scratched into the wood, darkened to pitch black from years of use. When the lid was lifted, inside lay a jumble of books, notebooks, and a slate, but also a wooden paint box, the warm color of amber candy. Inside that box were the little paint blocks, shaped like ink sticks. The indigo and crimson especially vivid in my mind. My face burned as if I'd been caught, and I quickly looked away. But I couldn't stop stealing glances at Jim's desk again and again. My chest throbbed painfully. I felt restless, as if chased by some shadow I couldn't escape. Then the bell rang sharply, signaling time to return to class. Startled, I jumped up. From the window, I saw the students laughing and shouting as they hurried off to wash their hands. A sudden coldness crept into my head, sharp and icy, and I shivered with unease. Like a sleepwalker, I staggered to Jim's desk and lifted the lid. Just as I had hoped, the paint box lay there among the notebooks and pencil cases. Looking around quickly to make sure no one was watching, I snatched the two colors, indigo and crimson, and stuffed them into my pocket. Then I hurried to join the others in the hallway, waiting for the teacher. Led by a young female teacher, we entered the classroom and took our seats. I longed to see Jim's face, but I couldn't bring myself to look. No one seemed to notice what I had done, and that gave me a strange mix of relief and fear. The words of the teacher floated in my ears, but I couldn't focus on any of them. Sometimes she glanced at me with curiosity. That day, I especially hated her gaze. An hour passed slowly, and I felt as if someone around me whispered secrets behind their hands. When the bell finally rang to end class, I sighed with relief. But as the teacher left, the biggest and best student in class grabbed my arm. "Come here," he said. My heart jumped like when the teacher calls on you for forgetting homework. I forced a calm face and tried not to care as he pulled me toward the corner of the playground. "You have Jim's paints, don't you? Give them back." He held out his hand. Strangely, I felt calm enough to lie. "No, I don't." Jim, nearby with a few friends, spoke up with a shaky voice. "I checked the paint box before lunch. Nothing was missing. But after lunch, 2 colors disappeared, and you were the only one in the classroom during recess." I knew I was caught. Blood lashed to my face, burning crimson. Suddenly, one of the boys reached into my pocket. I struggled, but outnumbered. I had no strength. They pulled out the 2 lumps of paint, along with some marbles and lead toppers. The children glared at me as if to say, "See, we told you." My body trembled uncontrollably, and everything went black. Despite the bright day and cheerful play around me, I felt completely withered inside. Why had I done such a terrible thing? There was no turning back now. I was finished. The weak boy I was felt lonely and broken, and I began to cry quietly. "You won't scare us by crying," the biggest boy sneered, full of contempt. The others surrounded me and tried to drag me upstairs. I fought as best I could, but was powerless and was pulled up the stairs. That led to the room of the teacher I loved most. Soon, Jim knocked on the door. Knocking was how you asked permission to enter. The teacher's gentle voice called, "Come in." I had never felt such dread entering a room before. The teacher, who had been writing something, looked surprised to see us all burst in. Yet, with her usual gentle expression, she gently stroked her short hair and tilted her head slightly, as if to ask what was wrong. Then the best student stepped forward and told her in detail that I had taken Jim's paint. The teacher's face clouded slightly as she looked seriously at all of us, then at me, half crying, half ashamed. She asked quietly, Is that true? It was true, but I couldn't bear to show my beloved teacher how wrecked I felt. Instead of answering, I started to cry out loud. She looked at me for a moment, then quietly told the others, "You may leave now." They left, disappointed. For a while, she said nothing, staring at her own fingernails. Then she rose softly and put her arm around my shoulder. "Have you returned the paint?" she whispered. I nodded deeply, hoping she knew I had. "Do you think what you did was wrong?" Her quiet question overwhelmed me. I shook and bit my trembling lips, but couldn't stop the tears flowing. It felt like I could die right there, held in her arms. "Don't cry anymore. Now that you understand, that's enough. Let's stop the tears, okay? You don't have to come to class next period. Stay here quietly in my room until I leave class, all right?" She sat me on a long bench. At that moment, the bell for study time rang. She picked up some books and looked at me. From the grapevine calling up to the second floor window, she plucked a bunch of Western grapes and quietly placed them on my lap, where I sat sobbing. Then she gently left the room. Chapter 3. The classroom, which had been so noisy just moments before, suddenly fell silent as all the students slipped quietly back inside. The stillness was almost overwhelming, so deep it felt like the world itself had held its breath. I was swallowed by a loneliness so heavy it pressed down on my chest like a thick fog. Thinking about how much I must have hurt the teacher I cared for so much, I felt truly sorry. More sorry than I had ever felt before. I couldn't even bring myself to eat the grapes. Instead, I just sat there and cried. Then, softly, someone shook my shoulder, waking me gently. I must have fallen asleep in the teacher's room without realizing it. Tears still wet on my cheeks. The teacher was there, smiling down at me with a quiet kindness. Rested, I felt a little better, and for a moment the sadness slipped away. Embarrassed, I smiled back shyly and hastily grabbed the bunch of grapes that was slipping from my lap. But just as quickly, the sorrow returned, and the smile faded from my face. "Don't wear such a sad look," the teacher said softly. "Everyone else has gone home now. It's time for you to go too. But whatever happens, you must come to school tomorrow. If I don't see your face, I will be truly sad. You must come, no matter what." She slipped the grapes quietly into my bag, her touch gentle and kind. As I walked home along the seaside road, watching the ships and the sea, I felt empty and dull inside. But when I finally ate the grapes, their sweet taste brought a little warmth back to me. The next day, though, I couldn't quite find the courage to go to school. I wished for a stomachache or a headache, anything to keep me home. But on that day, not even a single tooth ached. Reluctantly, I left the house and wandered slowly, my thoughts heavy and restless. The school gate seemed impossible to cross. Yet the teacher's words echoed in my mind, and deep down I longed to see her gentle face once more. I knew she would be sad if I didn't come. Clinging to that hope, I stepped through the gate. And then something unexpected happened. Jim was waiting, it seemed, and he ran up to me, taking my hand in his. As if yesterday's troubles had vanished, he kindly led me, awkward and unsure, to the teacher's room. I couldn't quite understand it. I had expected to others to mock me, whispering behind my back that I was a thief or a liar. But now, this kindness felt almost strange. Before Jim could knock, the teacher opened the door and welcomed us inside. "Jim, you're a good boy," she said with a gentle smile. "You've understood what I told you. Jim says you don't need to apologize anymore. From now on, you will be good friends. And that's all that matters. Now shake hands properly." She turned us toward each other, smiling. Though I felt shy and unsure, Jim reached out and firmly grasped my hand. I didn't know how to express the joy swelling inside me, so I just smiled shyly. Jim smiled back, warm and easy. Then the teacher asked softly, "Was the grape sweet yesterday?" My face flashed bright red, and all I could do was nod. "Then I will give you some again," she said, leaning out the window, wrapped in her crisp white linen dress. She plucked a bunch of grapes. She held the purple powdery cluster on her pale, delicate left hand, then neatly snipped it in two with slender silver scissors, handing half to Jim and half to me. Even now, I could still clearly picture those deep purple grapes resting on her snow-white palm, so beautiful it feels like a memory carved in light. From that day on, I became a little better, less shy, a bit braver. But where did my dear, kind teacher go? Knowing I will never see her again, I still find myself wishing she were here. Every autumn, the grapes turn a rich, beautiful purple, dusted with powder, but no place holds the shining white hand that once held them.